Welcome to the Smokin Word. Welcome to the Smokin Word.
We got Texas in the building today. What's up, everybody? It's Smokin Word Podcast. Shout out to everybody who's been tapping in. Shout out to everybody who tapped into that last Blackout series. But today, we had to bring that shit to Texas. I said, I'm glad you tapped in. We have the Axeman behind one of Texas' finest, Blake Fugitive, on the hot mic for the fucking Smokin Word Podcast. Listen, I'm glad we made this shit happen. Shout out to you. You know why? Shout out to you because we've been trying to make this happen for a minute. And then, things got crossed. And right away, you came back with a plan B and you stuck to the plan B.
Yeah, of course, man. Oh, anything to come on Hoya's podcast.
Listen.
Yeah.
Big fan of the band. We've been following the band since you dropped it. And it's pretty crazy for me because I got a lot of questions because curiosity, just even how you came out. So right off the grip, obviously everybody, we know each other. We toured in Europe. We had some fun in Europe, a fucking power trip. Shout out to Power Trip, the whole family. We already know. RIP, mad love, Texas represent. That's how we met. And then everything in life happened. And then boom, the next thing I know, I hear boom that you were dropping a new band. And the next thing I know, I literally saw it. I heard that you were dropping a new band. Boom. And right away, you hit us with a new band. How the hell did you do it so quick is what I want to know.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Always good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, but
Yeah,
seeing your face, I'm happy to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, bro.
Yeah, well, man, I'm just kind of trying to survive. So it's like all I really know, it's the same with you. I'm sure it's like you've been playing a band since, I've been playing a band since I was like 13. So, when the one I was in for, I don't know what, like 15 years or something, or all that shit went down. It wasn't, it actually wasn't, it kind of felt like it took me a little while because it was like COVID was going on. So
yeah,
while it was happening, I was kind of trying to figure out my next move. And then I just started playing some shit. I was kind of fucking around different tunings and stuff and trying to do what I've always done, but maybe make it a little different and dive into some different things that I'm into. And yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And it actually worked out really nice because like one of my best friends that lives really close to me, me and him we were just hanging out, and he actually it turned into a pretty good singer, and like he's just getting better and better. So we work really well together. And then I was a drummer of a friend's band that he also lives in town. Everybody lives in town, so it was like really
perfect. Yeah,
fell together really easily. Yeah, and then
so you would say Fugitive it definitely started during the whole COVID thing, or was it before, or that was like, because obviously we know everything that happened with the band and all that stuff, and obviously in your head then you were like, okay, let me do something. What did that line up with COVID, or because I don't remember the time frame, you know what I mean, on everything, or during that period you said, okay, now it's time to pull the trigger on this new band?
No, actually, I guess looking back, it was sort of like the end of COVID. So it was like 21 or 22? It was,
yeah,
I guess it was 22. Yeah. So, it was kind of like the end of COVID. And I think, just the timing of it, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that, I need to start a new band right now. It was just something I decided to do. And then looking back, I'm like, damn, if I would have done that, I'd be like, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So it was really clutch in that sense. But yeah, it was kind of the end of COVID, and it all kind of came together real quick. I just started writing some songs, and the songs, for me, arrangement and all that stuff doesn't take that long. It's really just kind of getting the bones, the parts and the main ideas, like the vision for how it's going to look and everything. So once that comes together, writing the writing process didn't take very long, and then we just recorded everything over the summer. And yeah, so it was I guess sort of the end of COVID, but it feels like it was
Yeah.
the
But it
whole
was
thing.
during that vacation is when you were like, okay, I'm gonna put this together, and then that shit dropped. Because I watched it, I heard you dropping something. I was like, obviously those couple years are a freaking, foggy for everybody. But I was following it, and then we covered when you dropped it. The next thing I know, I saw you guys playing a show. I was like, damn, they're playing a show, and I remember you guys were killing it. And I was like, yo, these guys just came out. I was like, wow, like people are, and it was fresh during the whole, I guess everything just finished, just opened up again. But also, I was like, wow, yo, that new band, and then you dropped the video, which we'll talk about, because a cool video, bugged out style. Before we even go there, two things you just talked about, because I'm doing similar what you're doing,
Yeah.
a new group. It was basically during vacation time, during a clutch time in life, and just making a power move and pulling the trigger. Two things. You mentioned tuning real quick, because I'm on a different tuning for the first time in 30 years. So for me, it's a new thing. What tuning you went from to what are you messing with now? Or you got multiple tunings now with the Fugitive stuff?
No, it's just, I mean, I was always playing in standard tuning. So I just dropped it down a step. I was like, because if I went down half a step, that's not really much of a difference, so.
Yo, go more. Listen, you sound like, I love it. You know why I love it? Because you pull it off, because you guys, this is what I loved about Power Trip. Yeah. I'm a thrash guy, and that type of metal was lost in hardcore. I love all that crazy death metal core, NASA metal, I call it. It's really, that's cool. But to me, I like songs and chops and the vibe. I like things chopping away. Mm-hmm. When Power Trip came out, I remember being like, damn, okay, man, people people like it. Like, that's my shit. But I thought like people weren't up on it. The next thing I know, obviously you got the Municipal Waste and you guys that brought that old school flavor back to a newer generation. So I was like, yo, I'm glad, because I'm more in that lane. And then with the Fugitive stuff, to me, I hear the difference. There's a difference than the Power Trip stuff, but it's in the vein of that thrash, of the same type of the thrash. I know is that real, it's choppy, real, it's the right hand, a lot of palm muting right hand. Cause that's my whole shit. I used to have to try to find the medium between that and the hardcore stuff,
right?
Cause we couldn't do that fucking 30 years ago, even though we wanted to. It was like, how can we do it? All right, we half and half it, but we always loved it, the Metallica stuff.
Of course. Yeah, man. I mean, like that's what we're all about. I mean, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to all this stuff, and the records that I came up on, in the hardcore scene that got me into metal were all you guys' records, like all the New York hardcore stuff. I consider a lot of those Madball stuff crossover, because there's a lot of riffing. I mean, like all the Tom Soares stuff that all the bands he recorded, those records, like really tight and Marshalls and
a
lot of like I was listening to Just Look Around by Sick of It All. That was like one of our favorite albums as a band in Power Trip, and that has so much metal, like borderline Exodus sounding thrash.
Absolutely.
Same with Set It Off and stuff. It was like it was still thrashy, but it was hardcore in the delivery of the vocals, and then the rhythms were very hardcore. So that's why. But we come from hardcore. So me, but that's where I love the crossover stuff. Is what made me get into metal, is because you had all the hooks in the rhythms of hardcore, but you had the riffing of metal. So
for sure. Like that, the riff edge.
It's real.
Like like hardcore had the soul, but the thing with the crossover, the metal to me was that, the riffs, you had the chops when you're like, yo, you talk riffs, you're talking on like, yo, what's that? And we were always a fan of that. Like, we would always have, I can't remember how many years of conversations me and Maddie would have on right hand versus left hand. Like, the right hand back, the back in the day, you had to have this one, but we're like, nah, James Hetfield change, the right hand. All right, who's the illest right hand in the game? Yeah. We have all those talk, the Hetfields, the Scott Ians. In the hardcore world, we have AJ.
Oh yeah.
AJ, let me tell you, he was a right hand. Oh, yeah. Like I wanted to get him on the podcast, but he's missing link when it comes to that. But
Yeah.
him, when it came to that thrash shit, he was dropping shit in one take, old school style tape, you know, no joke, right hand beast.
He was a big deal for me. I mean, those Leeway records were really big for us. We would cover Leeway, and I learned to play along with all those records, like playing along with Desperate Measures and Born to Expire and Chromags records and stuff like that. And and Madball too. I mean, just like, playing along with those right hand records, and I put like, Just Look Around and Set It Off and all that in the same category with Desperate Measures and
thank you, man. Yeah, that's
record, because it's like it's the same era. That was the whole era that got us going and got us excited to play this type of music. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
What do you think is it about Texas? Obviously there's like crossover happened everywhere, but specifically it happened, you have it in the South where, back in the day you had the COCs and all that stuff where they mix, it was punk, hardcore, and they mixed the thread. Then you had the DRIs, but it was a different kind of thing. What is it about metal in Texas, you think? Like what is it that I don't know. Like I'm so because I've toured so many years, so I always knew there was a heavy this music scene in general. Texas got music, you know what I mean? Yeah. But something about thrash and Texas, I don't know what it is. Maybe so many Latins. Latins love this thrash shit, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Latins in Texas that they love metal. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, there's always been kind of like a rock and roll metal thing going on in Texas. So you had obviously ZZ Top and Pantera, and you've always had a big metal scene here. I mean, bands would always do really well here. There's been little pockets of heavy metal scenes, and in San Antonio and Houston and Dallas and stuff. So I mean, it's always been a lot of people. I think there's just like, it's a little gritty, there's people
outlaw shit.
It's honestly, Texas is very diverse. You know what I mean? I don't think people think about it as much, but like Dallas, for example, and, places like that, like it's very diverse. So you got a lot of Hispanic people, you got a lot of all different kinds of people. And I think, I don't know. I think this like the Southern mentality and stuff lends itself to, heavy music, tough music and stuff like
whiskey, whiskey barroom fight. Cause there was always that element again, like even when they crossed over from the Panteras, but you see the thrash was different than Bay Area thrash. You know what I mean? Again, I think Texas was closer to the blues with the South. Like like I always said that about the Louisiana bands. It's built in them. They got the natural swamp in their riffs.
The crowbar stuff. Yeah.
All of them. They got
nasty grooves and shit.
Yeah. I call it the swamp there in sludge, because what happens when you're walking in that mud, it's like that, and those riffs are like that. Like, but that's also really like that old school meter shit, like, which I love, because what my mission was as a kid was, even being in a hardcore band was, all right, when we started off being in a hardcore band, we're like, all right, we got to make the ultimate hardcore band. But we were like, we love the metal grooves and the metal breakdowns and all that. We were like, how could we little by little bring that shit into this? So my lifelong mission was little by little bringing it into our music, into Madball specifically at the time, because I was like, they were more on the punk rock, and I loved that, but I was already past that. I like the groove shit. And I was already on my old band was more like a groove thrash stuff. We want some groove metal shit.
You talking about Demise?
Yeah. So
we love that stuff.
Thank you, man. And my whole shit was, we were already like listening to the Panteras, and back then was the Ex-Hoarders. That's one of my favorite bands. Those type of bands, because I was like, man, those are the thrash bands that get it. They got the riff, and then they're breaking it down, and then they, they're milking it the right way.
The dynamics. Yeah.
And then
all the way.
Yeah, and those again happen to be from New Orleans, this area. Like, Phil comes over with the Pantera, the Texas boys come over, and it's like, man, it makes sense. And I love that. I guess it's that whiskey groove, it's a swingy groove. It's different. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And right now with Fugitive, because you guys did a lot in a short time, and right now you just came back from where were you?
We were in Florida this past weekend.
Yeah, and that was playing. You had the show, right?
Yeah, we played this fest. It was like a punk. It was kind of like a punk fest in Tampa. So
you just went in for the one show and out.
yeah, we just went in for the show, and then
Yeah.
we were just there for a day or so. So it was cool.
And what's the deal? Have you guys got to go to Europe yet?
No, we're supposed to go. We're going in March to London, and we're playing a fest in London. So that'll be our first time over there. Because we've been banned. I mean, we've probably been banned for. I guess we started. I mean, we put out we played our first show in August of last year. So it's been a little over a year. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to, like, hey, I've been through it, so I know.
Yeah.
How to and yeah, it's like I'm trying to get this shit going. So I'm
trying
to stay on top of it. I mean, I want to like let things sit a little bit and not try to, because you start a new band, you don't really want to put out an album. I mean, you can, but it's like I'm like I don't want to put out an album right away. I want to wait till people are paying attention and then do an album. So I've kind of been doing a couple EPs and
I've seen that.
Just vibing it out, but we're about to, we got a booking agent, so I'm not doing that anymore, and probably about to sign with a label or something. So start doing it. We're gonna pretty much. I'm already writing for a record, so I'm trying to do a record next. But I've just been.
So let's rewind a little bit, because what you do is like obviously maybe us starting something new because we were in bands. We have a little bit more experience in that, but still. You basically restarted over in a new day and age, even for you being on the newer generation. Now everybody's playing the game a little different.
Oh yeah.
Right now you got the stuff like right now you said, so how you went about, all right, you put the band together. Now you guys have a couple of songs. You're like, how did you go about dropping it? Like you just put out did you drop music out before the video, or did you drop the video first? What was the order of?
You talking about when we started the band or recently?
Yeah, like the first release. Like you started the band. Yeah. What did you drop out to the people?
We just made an EP. So it was like a 5-song EP, and then we just put it out ourselves. And I had like my friend's label. They ended up putting out like a 12-inch a few months later, like after we had put it out. But it wasn't really until we put it out, and then I was like, hey, do you want to release this physically? Because I was just trying to get it out before the first show. We had the first show booked, like, I'd say like a month or two before like we had finished the music. So like music, and I think we put it out, like we got it mastered and put it out like a week before the show, or the week of the show. So it was like, I just wanted to get it out before the show so people would have heard it, and so it was all kind of like just as it happened. And the same thing with the last couple songs we just put out like a few months ago. It was like, we had sort of taken a while to finish it because our engineer he's in a touring band. So he was coming back, and we just had to kind of get it out before some shows this summer. So it would work. So it would coincide with all the stuff we had planned. So it was sort of last minute, like, let's just get it out. And then my homie at the label he's like, I'll put it out. But they know how it goes, and it takes months for.
It takes.
It's not like the old days. You can just, finish the recording and then put it out the next month. It's like you have to wait, but it's all right. With the benefit of that is we got the streaming and all that, so you can put stuff out online and people can hear it, and it can it can make work while you're waiting for the physical. But
exactly. And so the first thing when you put it out was the EP, like were those couple of songs all at once, or did you drop one song at a time?
Our first EP is like a 5-song EP, and that was back in August of, I guess, 22, and then we just put out a couple songs back in I think it was like the end of July of this year. So it wasn't quite a year. Well, I guess it was like almost a year later. And then so yeah, we just because the first year we played more in the spring. We didn't play a ton in the fall after the first show, and then so there's still all these places that we hadn't played even on the first EP.
Yeah, you're brand new with this. You know what I mean? You're just getting started. For sure.
I'm more of a quality over quantity aiming guy. So I just want to like try to put out my best songs, but I also don't want to put out like all my shit because I want to make a record that also. For
sure.
If I put out a bunch of songs in the first year, it's like everyone's like, "Oh, cool," but then if you don't
blow your load,
you want to blow your load like before people know. So I feel like we're putting ourselves in a good position by just DIY, but. I'm ready to kind of take it to the next level, hopefully, because I'm not getting any younger, and I want to
And do it. I mean, you want to take the band up. It's a serious band, and but that's what I was saying. Like again, I'm on the same boat in a lot of ways. That and why I bring this up is for people that people got to invest in themselves. Some people are scared to invest in themselves. Then this might not be the business for them because this is one of those like this. If this is what you do, then how would you not bank on yourself? You know what I mean? But you also know that there's a lot of work to it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we write the songs, and you got to put the songs. You got to find the members. Then you got to think of a name. Then you got to get it printed. Then we got to get a studio. Then how we're going to upload. Then we're going to upload it, and then you got, the deal. It's like, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah. And I mean, obviously we like doing it. That's why we do it, but it is a lot of work. And I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, like that's the other thing that's hard. It's like, like everything can go right. And then just, one person in the chain of command doesn't do the right thing or and then it can, it can kind of get fucked up. So it's like it is hard. I mean, just the process of like writing songs, recording songs, putting songs out, like there's just so many things that have to line up for it to go according to plan. So it's you gotta, I mean, you can't think about it too much in that sense. I mean, luckily, like people like us, we've been doing it so, forever, and it's all we know. It's like we don't think of. I think if you're not used to doing that, and you're not, you get too in your head about how vulnerable you are when you put out music, and it's like it can be kind of scary. You have to just go with your gut and just
I believe some people I think just get too used to like what they do, or you just get used to your comfort zone sometimes. In this music shit, unfortunately, you got to be out of your comfort zone. As much as you wanna, listen. How could your music not grow? If we grow, how can our music not grow with it? It just doesn't make no sense. You always keep the essence real, but you build. My whole point is you keep stacking clay on, and you build and you build and you build. You don't just let it be and be like, all right, that's good. This shit is never ending. Like, it's like the never ending riff. There's always a better riff out there that you're like, fuck, why didn't I write that?
Yeah, it's tough, man, because there's just so many, especially depending on where you come from and who you're surrounded by. I mean, there's just so much, you just got to realize at some point you're not going to satisfy everybody, and the other thing is like, there's a lot of, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, in terms of like the scene or whatever. It's political, like there's just like, if you're this type of band and then you do this, then it's like you're not that side of the scene might not like it. If you got too much slow stuff, then it's like, or you're too fast. You just kind of got to do what you do, and just you got to be okay with I'm like everybody else. Like I want everybody to like it, but you gotta like people. I think about it sometimes too. It's kind of like a weird thought, but it's like when you're a heavy band in any way, like we don't sound anything like a lot of heavy bands, but like we're thrown in the pile with all the other heavy bands. And like there's gonna be kids that listen to shit that sounds nothing like your band, but they're judging you in the same way. They don't know who the fuck like Exodus is. They don't know who
exactly. Yeah,
they don't know about Cro-Mags. They just listen into the riffs and the songs, and hopefully, if it's good and it crosses over, everybody will be down with it. But like, you got to be okay with a lot of people just not knowing what the deal is, and like,
and I'll give you and I'll give Power Trip credit for helping and showing that side, because obviously you guys, even like now, even you guys right now with Fugitive, you could play a metal show and a hardcore show. You guys are still got, your hardcore dude, that hardcore soul, playing some crossover, whatever, your own shit. You're playing Fugitive shit, whatever it is, you're playing your shit. Like, what you guys, by doing something that actually I had Joe on the show from Outburst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you guys from a band like Power Trip, showing love to a band like Outburst, which are two totally different spectrums of the planet in every aspect, yet come from the same world, but two different sides of the room, and legit love and legit, like fans of the band, and showing the newer generation that may not know that, and also showing the so-called know-it-all generation about old school, whatever. Look at, this ain't new to us either. We don't have to look like, have a Krishna beads and in a book bag to be a hardcore guy. Like you to love the music. You know, we come in all shapes and forms. And Power Trip being that link to the crossover world from the hardcore scene, showing that was big for sure, because that shit brought a lot of eyes back to the OG shit straight up, you know.
That's cool to hear. I mean, you know, like in our world, in the hardcore scene, you know, because Power Trip for many years was mainly just a hardcore band. I mean, we were playing the same music we were playing, but we didn't really start playing with metal bands and doing that whole thing until our last album came out, and that was like the last 3-4 years of the band. So like we were playing with hardcore bands for years, like Backtrack and stuff, and they were repping Outburst and like, but they were in the hardcore scene. So like I could see, you know, why Joe and those guys like maybe felt a little different when we did it, because we were further away from a band like Backtrack that was definitely more New York hardcore based, like Madball, all that stuff, and Outburst. But I guess because we were more of a metal band at that point, but it didn't feel like we were doing anything crazy. Like we're from the hardcore scene. We were like, we love Outburst. We love like our compilations and all the, you know, all those bands. So it was like, for us, it was just like, why would we not do that? And we've always, like I said, we've covered hardcore bands for years, because we're all like, we all started.
We toured back before too, you know. Like it ain't new, like, you know, before Europe and all
and
that.
That's how different it is. Because I mean, like now, I'll say now more than ever, shit's more mixed up. Like hardcore and metal are way closer together, and even at that point when we toured together, I felt like it was. But you know, it's funny, in Europe, it doesn't feel like it is as much. Like in Europe,
it ain't.
Like, this is hardcore, only hardcore. And like when we played with you guys in Europe on that tour, we had been kind of like, felt like we were killing it on like some metal and hardcore stuff at home, and then we played in Europe and those hardcore shows, and some of them, they were just like, yo, y'all are a metal band. Like,
but it was rough because those guys got we had some meatheads.
Yeah, they were like, no, this is like, y'all got long hair. This is some metal shit.
You know what it is? Again, the lay of the land was starting to change, and you guys were coming with it, and they weren't. Now that same tour would be different. And still, I remember even after that tour, it was just hit people over the head. But I remember even after, people, it made a lot of noise in a good way, because I remember hearing people like, oh, the band, you know, Power Trip. We heard it because we were, you know, we would hear from the people. What it was still, you know, you got to watch how much you show, how much love you show. If you got a Gorilla Biscuit shirt, you got to be careful how much love you show Power Trip right away. You know what I mean?
Like, and I get it, you know. I mean, it's like you're not gonna. There's different crowds. Like I said, we played. They've just played, like, you know, we've been lucky. Like most of the shows we've played have either been like our own shows, or they've been kind of metal shows or metal hardcore shows that work. And like even this weekend, like we played at a kind of mostly a punk and D-beat fest, and like our friend booked it, and it was cool. But like you know, it was not our show. Like you could tell, like it was mostly punk kids and stuff, and it wasn't like. Terrible, we didn't bomb, but it was like you could just tell, like we played heavy stuff, and they were just like,
they wanted garbage can lids.
So it was just like, okay, it was humbling. Like, it's just not every crowd is gonna be for you. That's okay, you know. Like you gotta take that as it is. Because I was telling the guys, I was like, we could be 4 times bigger than we are. We could have just put out our best record and be on fire. And you play a show like that, or you open for a band in Europe, you know, like some legacy band, and they don't know who you are. Like they're just gonna watch, and it doesn't mean. And they might, but you know, those same people that sit there and watch might be back next time going crazy. So it's just, you have to be ready, and you can't let it get in your head too much, you know?
Yeah, and you know the deal, and not for nothing, you guys had, like, even for that, like, you have good, a quick spark. Like, you guys have made noise, you know, it made a lot of noise. A lot of people love the band, and I seen some shows, and it looks like people knew your shit, like you've been around for a while, you know. Some of those moments take years for bands back in the day just to get some of those moments, you know what I mean? So it's like, which is great, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I'm very thankful that, you know, people that followed Power Trip and in any of our bands, you know, because Lincoln, the drummer, his band has been touring a lot, Creeping Death, and you know, we get some publicity because of all.
Oh, real quick, so he's in there. I didn't know that. I was gonna ask you what's up with the other guys, or who was where and what.
Everybody in the band is like, I kind of handpicked from bands, because you know, I wanted guys that had been playing for a while with other bands and knew the deal. So yeah, like Lincoln, the drummer, his band Creeping Death, they're like a metal. They tour.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, for sure.
They play like hardcore metal stuff too. Like they all come from the hardcore scene, but they're mostly a metal band. And then Seth, the singer, he's in this band called Scourge, which is like a hardcore band, and they, they're all about like demise and obviously obituary and stuff. Like, there's a lot of that, choppy, groovy type stuff that was like all those. I'm trying to think like Confusion and all those.
Yeah, for sure.
Like New York hardcore, more obscure New York hardcore bands, and then so he's about that, and then Victor, the other guitar player, he's been in like kind of crossover and DB bands. Like he played with the drummer of Power Trip in a band called The Impalers, which was like Discharge and GBH and stuff like that, and then the bass player Andy, he's been in crossover and punk and thrash bands like for the last 20 years. So it's all guys like that kind of like have been in bands. So I'm thankful that people have paid attention. I mean, I've been just trying to make the right moves and not play too much, but not play it, and just write, try to write the best songs we can, and just make the right moves, try to build the band like just visually the right way, and it's fucking hard, you know what I mean? You got to really be strategic about how you do all of it, but I'm lucky, and I'm just trying to keep it rolling, but I'm very
for sure. It's crazy because I'm literally we're in the same boat. You're ahead of the game, you got but the same boat, being strategic. I'm dropping my new stuff. Exactly.
Yeah. You probably can't say too much about it.
No, I can say something, but I got the video is done. The single is done. I'm dropping an EP. We got the first song. I got my boy Demi on drums. I got Ezek on vocals on this one. I got Sean Martin on guitar. And it's all straight up. You're gonna love it because it's straight up on some groove metal shit.
You got the OGs. I mean, Ezek's my Jewish brother.
Yeah, hell yeah,
we got that connection. I talked to him a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
He's one of the best, dude. I mean, Crown of Thorns, that was another band that we were listening to all the time. Like, I mean, and Dijon, me and Dijon are pretty good friends.
For sure.
He was a big inspiration on me. And I mean, we at our first show we covered Breakdown, Jail Depression.
So
that record, and Mike Dijon. I mean, he's been real supportive.
He loves you guys, and I love him. He's one of my favorite humans.
He's a great player, great writer. Like, he's super inspirational. So it sounds like you got the right guys, dude.
Yeah, and it's funny because the same thing, like you said, doing it, knowing I wanted to get Killers. I said I'm only gonna do it with Killers, and it had to be presented the right way, it couldn't be corny, and it had to be, right. I wasn't putting something out just because I had mad music, and I said, hey, and on this one we're tuning C. This is what I was talking. It was the first time I went from E. I dropped a half step a second record, then Mad Boy stood at one step down for mad years, but this is on some other shit. So I got to go down and experience it.
Gotta switch it up, That's, I mean, that is the cool part. Enjoy the fun parts of starting a new band. Like, you get to just go out there and go, hey, who do I want to play in the band? Like, I get this guy, and you can just kind of make your pick. So it's kind of it's like building it's like a video game. You get to build a band, So like that's the fun part, And then when you get excited about that, and you're in there and you're hanging out with these new guys, and it's like a whole fresh thing. Then that's all the other shit worth it. You know what I mean?
And all of us were mad. We're friends for many years, and we never did music together. And on top of it, a lot of us didn't see each other face to face in like 15, 20 years. Like, I would talk to Sean throughout the years, but I ain't seen him in 10, 15 years. Him and Ezek are good friends. They didn't see each other for 15, 20 years. Demi, so all of us, but we're very close. And to make music together, man, it was probably one of the best recording sessions I ever had in my life. And I was able to do mad records. It's just, again, we know what we're doing. And when you're with special forces, you don't got to worry about the mission. Everybody knows what they got to do. And
the experience is important. I mean, you need to have guys that kind of know what's up, I mean, but you've been around long enough. You know how to pick the right guys for that.
For sure.
So that's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to hear it, man.
Yeah, you're gonna like it. I'm gonna get you some stuff ahead of time before these motherfuckers here.
Oh yeah.
But I want you to check it out because it definitely And let me ask you this, because I know you guys are, your tone dudes, from even how you capture a classic sound, but still, with more up to speed, production. The first stuff that you dropped, The Fugitive, where was it recorded? Did you go to a studio? Did you guys do it in your home studios?
Yeah, we've just done everything kind of a DIY so far. I mean, I have like
Yeah.
a dude in town that is like a little younger than me, and he's like plays in bands, and he was just engineering it. I have like a guy I do drums with down in Austin that's really good at doing drums. So we just been doing it DIY. We kind of mixed it ourselves and all that. We've done the best we can, you know, with what we had. We've been funding it all ourselves and doing it all ourselves. So like just trying, I mean, you know, for me, like I kind of know what I'm trying to do, but you know, it's always sort of a process of trying to get what you have in your head down. And you know, I think every time we're getting a little bit closer to what we want. But yeah, we've just been doing it DIY. You know, for me, like I'm not really like a nerd when it comes to gear and all that. Like I know what amp I really like, but you know, and I just play like a Marshall JCM 800. It's a 1986 amp, you know, and like
I was gonna ask you that. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm definitely more of a purist in that sense, you know, because I've played a lot of different amps, and for different kinds of music, everything it has its place. You know, I'm not like a hater or like a trying to be a snob, you know, but you know, for like old school metal stuff and thrash type stuff, I don't think there's a better amp. So I stick to that and just try to get everything as good as you can. It's like I said, when you're doing it yourself, you know, with limited wits and all that, I mean, you can only do your best. So we've done pretty well so far, I think, with what we've had. But I'm thinking the next record will probably go in a studio with you know, someone that's probably been around a long time and
going a little
do that whole thing. But you know, all you can do is your best and just try to get the best takes. Try to be as thorough as you can. I mean, it's just it's hard, but
I mean, yeah, no, I think you capture the sound, right? You know, the bit, you know, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And what I was curious, because all right, obviously with a Marshall is always you could get a classic tone out of it, and obviously just, you know, the access we have to technology when we come to mixing it and whatever, we could make it sound up to speed with traditional tone. How did you go about with drums to keep it still, you know, cohesive with the classic kind of guitar? Because do you say, we want a drum sound like this? Because there's people ain't doing these sounds.
Yeah,
you know, there's not too much stuff to A/B stuff from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Unless they're classic, you know, records.
I'm very particular about drums. So for me, I'm more of a rock and roll guy. So, you know, when I think about drums, I think about like AC/DC and all those records. I mean, I think those like the best drum sounds ever. So like, you know, stuff like you know, Appetite for Destruction, you know, like Mike Klink, I guess his name, you know, guys like records like that, you know, those kind of room drum sounds and stuff. And I'm very particular about that. I mean, I think the challenge is always like trying to go as organic and as old school as possible, but also having that the consistency that modern listeners want, you know, because if you, I feel like look, I'm a purist in the sense like I'd love everything to be as real as possible and all that stuff, and I'm all about that. But I think, you know, in this day and age, in order to be competitive, like, you know, you want to be on, if you want to, you know, appeal to different people on XM radio and stuff, I mean, it's got to have that consistency, you know. Like I think some people make the mistake sometimes, because like at the end of the day, when you're in the studio, like it doesn't matter. I don't think it really matters how you get the finished product, you know. Like in this day and age, it doesn't. Like if it took you 50 takes, you know, if you know, fix some of the snare hits, I mean, like no one, if you, all you get to do in an interview is flex, oh, we did it in one take and we didn't use any drum samples.
It's like, all ego.
It's like, and so I see people a lot, they go, oh, we're gonna make a record, we're not gonna use any drum samples and we're gonna do all, and like they do that, but then it's like, to me sometimes it doesn't compete, you know what I mean? It doesn't have like what you need it to have. And like those records back in the day, like people act like in the 80s they weren't using drum samples and shit. Like a lot of your favorite records have snare samples and kick samples.
All the big records back then had pre-Pro Tools before the Pro Tools.
Right. Like even if they did the drums analog and in one take, you know, you got guys that are pros that are going in there and finding ways to compress it and do all this shit. So it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, just get it to sound good and get it to sound competitive. So I think, yeah, that is the hardest part, is just trying to find a way to get things to sound really good and as organic as possible, but be powerful, you know? So for me, like I found a guy in Austin that I record drums with that is just really good at recording drums. And, you know, from there, like we get the best takes we can and we try to just balance out, you know, some, you know, bolstering of certain sounds to try to keep it consistent, keep it powerful. But it's like, you know, there's always gonna be people, oh, it's like, oh, it's not just like super raw.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
Fuck
That's
that.
fine. You know, like I said, you can't satisfy everybody, but I'm trying to make music that can, you know, translate to different audiences and you know, me still be happy with it personally. But yeah,
Yeah,
I right
it's
there.
it's a style, and what
Yeah.
it is, and if anything, the drum sounds you guys use is more raw than what everybody else is using, because you're using what I heard, but you put it into words. What I was telling you, how you a classic, you know, that style of drum sound, and
Right.
it's more room mic. Once you said that, I was like, that's what it is, because it's a
Yeah.
more roomy than what metal and crossover, even hardcore uses now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like when I was working with my engineer who mixed it, you know, we like on our first record, like it took a little while to get it right, because I was like, I don't want to compress everything to, you know, I'm
Yeah.
trying to do the least amount of compression as possible when it comes to that stuff, because I want it to breathe in the sense of like like a AC/DC record. But obviously when you're going fast and tempo changes, it can get a little difficult. So you have to be able to balance it. But the room mics are literally the most important part. And if you want to, yeah, like you said, like a lot of metal bands, they go ISO. You know, they record
Yeah.
in an isolation room and then they add everything digitally. And like, I mean, there's different ways to do it. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
a recording guru, so I'm not here to say what's the right and wrong way to record anything. But
Yeah.
what I had in my head was like, I like all the rock and roll records in the way that production is, and I want it to be open and breathing in a way that a lot of metal stuff isn't now. And it's a process. You know, I feel like every time I've gotten a little closer to what I'm trying to do, and I'm like, I'm almost to where I want it to be. I haven't quite like nailed it all the way, but I feel like from
Yeah.
ourselves so far, I'm like, it's gotten, I think people can hear, yeah, like you said, like a difference in and maybe what, you know, listening to other current bands, like this is different, you know. I'm
For
like, maybe
sure.
they don't know why, like what's going on here, but you know, some people pick up on it, like, oh yeah, like I get it, like it's you're trying to put everything right there in front of you clearly, and like I'm trying to, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do more than anything, is just make it a kind of feel like it's right in front of you.
No, and it is, and it's like that, and look, you guys are definitely you know, there's a very few people in a lane like that, so you definitely had, you know, which is good. Like even where Power Trip was falling, and you guys, I hear is different than Power Trip to me. You know what I mean? It's similar in thrash soul, but that's it. You know, to me, I hear a different. Let me ask you this: do you think with the drums, you think even if you went in digitally, you think just adding a room, more room sound make it sound a little bit more raw, a little bit more live?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. The room is a little, you know, it's not as easy as it sounds, because
Yeah,
obviously, like if it's too roomy, then it seems
that's what I'm saying.
it's like it's far away. You know, it can kind of fuck up some stuff in the mix. So it's a delicate balance, you know. But those are those things. It's like that's what kind of gives it that natural. That's how rock drums were always recorded, you know,
Yeah.
in a room like that. So I mean, for me, that's always what I want to do. But you know, what we're doing is, you know, it can get a little hard, because you know we're trying to make everything super clear
I
and
know, and then when you start getting
not, well,
into
yeah, and not super compressed. But then
yeah,
but then it's like, you know, I'm the amp I play. You know, I don't really have a lot of gain and distortion, so everything is super just clear. Is like every little fucking thing comes out. You know, and
right.
you know, if you stack more heavily distorted guitars, then you know some of those you don't get as much detail, but it covers up some of that stuff. So it's a little easier to get stuff that sounds like it's on time and tight and everything. And especially, you know, and then you start compressing the drums, and it's like you can hide a lot of things when you do that. I think what we're doing is like it definitely is harder to get everything right, you know. But
Yeah.
I think you know that's just kind of what I'm going for. So
Yeah,
it,
you know what it is, because it's meat and potatoes, but there's more to that meat and potatoes. You know, like you guys got riffs. That's what it is.
I'm
You know,
trying, yeah, it's all about, for me, like I, especially when we're recording and I'm doing guitars and stuff, like I really never go in and edit my guitars. Like I don't cut them up. Like I edit them, but like like we all do. But I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
what I do is I try to just take, you know, I try to take a whole section the way that I play it. You know what I mean? Like, because if I start, like I've had guys like they try to edit the guitar track, like the riff, and I'm like, it always sounds weird to me. Like I want it to sound like the way that I was playing to the drums, which is
Totally.
like every riff, depending on how you play to the drummer and what he's doing in with the beat and with the hi-hat, totally changes the way it hits. So it's like for
Sure.
me, every little minuscule thing about how I play the riff to the drums like affects the way it sounds. So like I want it to sound exactly like the way that I play, you know. So that's another thing that, like, is hard. You know, I can't just like record all my shit and give it to a guy and say, oh yeah, edit it and make it sound right, because then it'll just sound fucking weird.
Yeah, I know. I totally know what you mean. You try to take, instead of going in, you try to take a whole section if you have to.
Like,
Keep the vibe of the whole.
Yeah, like
section.
I even went back and re-recorded some stuff because like I'd recorded a bunch of guitars and then listened to it for a while. I was like, it's just not quite right, and I don't want to try to go in and fix all this shit. Not that it was super fucked up. There were just little grooves and swings that weren't quite right, and so I just ended up going back and re-recording it, you know. And I learned every time you record, you learn new shit. Like you always think like going into records, oh, I know everything now. Like I'm gonna nail all this shit.
Yeah, no, it's always
we're gonna do everything perfectly because we've learned all this shit. It's every time something different happens and you learn new shit about what not to do and what to do. And you, even with all that, you still fuck up sometimes. So like this recording session, I learned more than ever, when I already kind of knew it, but like more than ever is like, you don't have to play hard. You know what I mean? Like I actually play like as light as I can.
Yes. Oh, I learned that. It took me many albums, but I realized the same.
It takes years because, especially when you get all hyped up when you're under the microscope in the recording room, or when you're playing really fast, you feel like you got to push harder. And it's like, it's not really, it changes the sound. It does change the sound a little bit depending on what amp, like with a Marshall. If I play a little harder, it definitely sounds different, but it always makes me rush. So I'm like, if I play softer and I play more loose, a lot of the times that's money. You know what I mean? So you have
that's totally it. Was like, that was a big problem that I had too, because you're trying to push. We're playing aggressive music and we think we got to hit it hard and let's dig in. But we could dig in with still hitting it very clean and to the point, because you know what it is? We start off playing live and we tend we want to and we try to transfer the energy, but we could to a point. Then it gets to a point where too much energy now is going to mess up how that sound is going to translate it onto the, once we get it into the machine, before on tape. That's why I remember they used to tell me sometimes, like, yo, you're hitting too hard. Cause I used to just hit like a gorilla. I still do, but like, I wasn't even paying attention. They were like, yo, dude, like your strings are like almost going out of tune, like relax. And then I would learn, little by little, I'm learning. I'm like, yeah, I'm recording. Yeah. Why am I, it takes time and, just studio savvy and all that shit. And music, like what you guys have, where it has tempo changes, like it's all a swing, you know what I mean? So it's important. Like, I totally get it. Like,
there's all these nuances, like, I mean, there's like, when I play fast, I'm always trying to play kind of behind the beat. You know what I mean? I'm trying to play like Slayer and stuff, where they're not playing right on the one. They sit back and they're riding it, and it's the same way when I play a heavy part. Like, it's like, I think about like Face to Face or something, Madball, it's like, these are all like, it's all about exactly how you're playing to the beat. And that's how it gives it the pop, in the pocket and shit. So that's all the shit I care about. I don't care about just recording tight or whatever. It's got to ride the right way, and it's got to sit back the right way, or it just doesn't sound like the way I want it to. So all that shit's super, super important.
Yeah. If you could pick a guy to do your record, anybody right now, somebody goes, yo, we want Fugitive right now, whoever you want, we want to do your next record.
Record or mix or what?
Record, whatever, however you want. If you want two guys, one to record and mix, one do who do you think would be like, you think would kill your next record?
When it comes to engineers, I don't know a lot of engineers, and I have guys that I've always worked with that I really like, my friend Arthur and stuff, but I don't know. I'm always trying to, like, lately I always want to work with different people. I want to like learn from different people and because I've done multiple records with the same people, and I love those people, but I'm always just kind of trying to see what else I can unlock and learn. Mixy wise, my favorite mixer is Andy Wallace. He's like, he did like Chaos AD and Rain of Blood. I mean, you can't even, that's not even the beginning of all he's done. So like, he's my favorite mixer. I would love to have him mix a record I made.
And I was gonna say, because I heard some Andy Wallace, Sepultura, Soul, and some Fugitive.
Yeah. Well,
that's the groove shit. Me too. We got that, but I heard specifically that. It's funny because it makes
those
sense.
Those guys are like, they become kind of friends, and like they're a huge inspiration. Like being Hispanic, and like just being into metal and hardcore. And those guys are like, they're the epitome of crossover, because I mean, those guys were like ruling the metal world, but they were playing with you know, bands like who they're playing with, like Trial and Integrity and bands like
Everybody.
it all like
Strife.
they love Madball, you know, and a lot of those metal bands did. Like even, you know, if I talk to the Obituary guys, like they love Madball, you know, they love like
Yeah, they're great.
hardcore, and you can even hear it in a lot of those records. They have riffs really groovy that sound like they'd be on a Madball record. So it's like, what was I gonna say? Yeah, those guys are, you know, huge inspiration and stuff. So like they did, you know, Arise, Chaos AD, you know, Andy Wallace did, like he mixed Helmet, you know, and I'm a big Helmet fan.
Yeah, great stuff.
So like, you know, guys like that, they just that are able to do the rock thing and keep everything kind of organic, but also just make everything sit right. It's hard, you know, and doing it differently depending on the music, you know. So
no, for sure. No, he's dope. He's a classic. Same thing. Yeah, there's people unheard of guys now. I hear their bands and the records sound ridiculous. They're like, yeah, I recorded in my bedroom. I'm like, yo, it sounds so like I'm the furthest thing from a tech nerd, but I know what sounds good and stuff, and I'm like blown away on which gets me excited. Meaning, okay, it's just a fingertip away. You know what I mean? We know we could get this. Back in the day, you needed to get a Wallace or one of these big names to compete. Yeah. And not everybody had that budget. Now you don't need that at all. Now you just need to now you got to get a good tones like we always did. And now just get somebody good ears. We have all the equipment. Sure. Those guys are seasoned. It's a plus.
I mean,
now, you know the deal.
Yeah, now with everything, I mean, you can record everything, and then you just send it to a guy. He can reamp everything. He can, I mean, it's crazy all the shit they can do. I mean, yeah, that would be my thing. I mean, my thing is I like working with different people, and I like working with like an engineer that just kind of knows how to do it, you know, because there's like I said, all these decisions you have to make when you're recording about like, all right, we want it to be really tight, you know, are we going to do it on a click? Like, how are we going to do this and that? And, you know, a guy that has been around that knows when to do what, you know, like on our shit, you know, obviously we play to a click on a lot of stuff, but then you know, and then we had like some parts where maybe we lay off it, or like maybe he plays, you know, and it works, but you got to kind of know when to do that and when not to do it. And, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a recording. I do my best, but you kind of need someone to be able to make those decisions and do everything the right way. So that's where the expertise comes in. I think, you know, when it comes to the performances, that's the big thing. Anybody can use technology to mix and stuff now and replace, but the performances and the feel and everything is like, that's the hardest thing.
Listen, you guys are doing whatever you're doing it right so far. So yeah, you know, you don't gotta say you're just trying or whatever. Just keep doing whatever the fuck it is that you're doing.
Trying.
What's the next move? What's next now? I know you're doing some shows, but right now is the end of the year. What's the next move? Anything between now and then what's the plan for next year?
Yeah, we got you know, like I said, we got a booking agent now, so we have we're just lining up shows. Like, you know, we usually play at least a couple times a month. So we're doing some different stuff. Like we're playing Austin next weekend, like a cool show in Austin, and then we got December we're going to like Boston. Got a couple shows in Boston, and then we're doing like what's after that? We got a Dallas show, and then I think we're probably gonna try to get out to California and do East Coast again and stuff. So we're just trying to keep going. I've been getting down to business on writing. Like I got a lot of, you know, the last year I've been like recording lots of bits and pieces and riffs and stuff. But like I told you before, it's kind of like the hardest part for me is just visualizing how everything's going to look and how the record's going to go and what each song's going to be. And then, you know, when you get all that and then you have all the pieces there, you can start, you know, like I said, arrangements and all that are you know, come pretty natural to me, but that's the tough part. So I'm just trying to get I've been buckling down, and I have about like 4 or 5 songs that I'm working on. So I'm just trying to make a record and then hopefully be in the studio maybe in the summer and doing an LP and just kind of keep things rolling. You know, I'm trying not to waste too much time. You know, I've like Power Trip. We weren't really a full-time band or anything. And I was so young. We were all like, just, you know, kind of kids. So we wasted, I'm not saying we wasted, but we didn't move things along as fast as we could. But at the same time, I mean, timing was everything. So the timing worked out for what we were doing, even though we didn't accomplish.
I get it.
You know, there's bands that've been around half as long as we were that have 3 records. You know, we made 2 LPs.
So, you guys made a lot of noise for the amount of time you guys were around. Trust me, because I heard it, I saw it, And again, congratulations with the band. I'm a fan of the band, and I'm glad. Again, for me, it's refreshing to look at that because we on the same boat in a lot of ways. So seeing you out there, it's like, oh shit, we're new teams in the league again. You know what I mean? We're like seasoned players that started new teams. And again, I liked and I've always been a fan of the style of the band. Anybody, where could anybody, you got merch up? Where could people get your stuff?
Yeah. We got a merch store. It's like fugitive-official.com, and it's on our like Instagram and all that shit, Facebook. So you can find everything there. And we're just doing that. We got like, we just put out like the 7-inch of the couple new songs just came out on this label, $20 Spin, who put out our first EP, and we're just doing that, man. But like I said, we've known each other a long time. Even starting a new band, everyone's gonna be looking out for you. And
same thing, man. I'm psyched for you, man. Again, I'm a real fan of the band. I fuck with that shit. I'm psyched for you, and I'm right on your coattails. I'm following the same moves. We're the same bow, and man, hopefully I get to see you guys soon somewhere. Keep me posted. The deal. Yeah. Keep me posted, and good luck, man. I'm glad and all that shit, and. The deal. Everybody, make sure you go get that Fugitive shit. And by the way, the name is hard. I was saying that today. I was like, fuck, why I never came up with that.
Yo, no, we got lucky there. But I was gonna say to you, man. Hey, I'm a big fan of yours. I wouldn't even be, Madball. If I hadn't heard Madball and Demise and all that stuff.
Thank you, brother.
You would be. I don't know what I'd be doing. So
thank you, brother.
A lot of respect and love for you. And I know whatever you do is gonna be. Everyone's gonna put on for you. So
same thing with you, man. For real, I'm glad you were able to do this. Everybody, go get that Fugitive shit. You look out for them, Blake. You know what time it is. Hopefully, I see you soon. One love. I'll hit you with a text when this drops, and I'll send you some new shit soon.
Hey, thanks.
All right, one love, everybody. We out of here. Fugitive, Texas. Yeehaw! We out of here.